is Mr. Sanjeev R, Business Consultant, Supply Chain and Manufacturing, Infrastructure, Dassault Systems. Mr. Sanjeev has 12 plus years of background in supply chain, digital manufacturing and operations, and product life cycle management space. Sanjeev is leading a team of experts and consultants in supply chain and manufacturing domains and helping organizations to strategize the smart manufacturing and Industry 4.0 initiatives focusing on various segments. Prior to this role, he was working in the capacity of solution architect and an industry consultant on digital manufacturing for domains such as aerospace and defense, high-tech, transportation and mobility, and infrastructure industry. Ladies and gentlemen, with a huge round of applause, can you please welcome Mr. Sanjeev R on the stage?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. So, all these while we have been seeing the trends, the topics, the experiences that is being shared by multiple companies, organizations. Now, I'll just be going through the ways of how technology can help in orchestrating the disruptions what the supply chain is experiencing. So this is agenda, and I just start with who we are, and just as part of Dassault Systems. You would have heard of Dassault Aviation, and the Rafale jets, and we are part of the software wing, and right from 1980s, almost 5 decades of experience in development of software. We are a purpose-driven company, or we call ourselves as a purpose-driven company, combining the art, science, and technology. We started with the design or the design softwares, moving into the product lifecycle management, into manufacturing, right from the supply chain to the digital manufacturing, industrialization, execution. We spread across the complete portfolio with around 20K passionate people, 12,000 partners across the globe. So this is our footprint of Dassault Systems. So we have a flagship product called as 3D Experience Platform, cutting across all the things or all the domains that I was speaking about, the PLM, the manufacturing, the life cycle, the intelligence, the analytics across, and we cut across all the 11 industries on the right. We categorize that as the discrete and the process. The discrete typically cutting across transportation, mobility, aerospace, or the heavy infrastructure, and then the process with metals and minings, the consumer products coming into the process segments. So coming to manufacturing, so this is our footprint, and the global industrial operations, right from the sales and operations planning, cutting across down to the value chain, even to the scheduling. How do we build an integrated platform, combining that with the engineering and the industrialization which happens at the back or as part of the value chain in the organizations. And then downstream, how do I manufacture and then dispatch that, and how do I control the demand till the end to the dispatch. So this is our footprint of solutions what we offer as part of Dassault Systems. Well, coming down into supply chain management specific to this particular forum, right from the strategic planning, where do we start about the business planning, how do we put across the plants, where do we put across the plants, into the S&OP, combining that with the mass production scheduling at the tactical level, and then the detailed scheduling. Augmenting that with two key things. One is about the workforce. We do all know that, okay, today one of the key challenges about the workforce. How do we put across, or how do we augment the planning of workforce with my production, with my demand, with my organization? And also the logistics. How do I take care about the inbound and the outbound logistics? We saw a lot of disruptions that was being spoken about the logistics. So supply chain technology is just not about the manufacturing thing. It is encompassing the workforce and the logistics together. So that's our offering on the supply chain solutions. With this context of who we are, then what do we offer? I just come to the supply chain challenges. What is that we are speaking about today? The focus is on the disruptions and supply chain resilience. People are seeing about an end-to-end thing, and many well-known OEMs, well-known technology enabled OEMs had a lot of shock, in terms of shortage of materials, disruptions. The integration of the networks, how do I go ahead and then put across the value chain, just not me, but the entire ecosystem, cutting across my suppliers, my vendors, my other partners who are part of my ecosystem. Disruption was always a constant. I think even before COVID, there were disruptions. COVID was a exceptional disruption, that's what we call. And then again, we do have disruptions. So Gartner on the right-hand side tells that, okay, a history of disruptions that has happened over a decade. And they have bucketed the drivers of disruption that is well known for even India. The materials not coming in time, the replenishment's not happening, then the demand or the change in the way how people are really seeing the products, then the customer satisfaction. I don't go ahead and then give something on time. Definitely there is a change in the satisfaction, or there is a change in the way that how people see that. So they have categorized that as the sustainability, the climate changes, the health, the social unrest, the policies. I think I heard the different policies, Indonesia cutting down the palm oils or the other things. And the security, and then the accidents, which are common, which happens. So this is how Gartner has put across. Those are the levers or the indices, what Gartner is already telling about that. These are the disruptions that are coming in. And for all these things, today, the industry challenge is the lack of visibility. Am I known on all these things? Is there data points available for me to be more resilient or agile? That how do I manage these things? With that said, of course, industry has started thinking about that. A lot of trends that are coming in today, what we understand is the reintegration of the supply chain. The global OEMs or the major OEMs saying that, okay, how do I localize, how do I bring in the supply chain parameters, that if I'm going ahead and then taking something from a network which is external to India, how do I bring that? I was in one of the ink manufacturing companies. They were having a lot of issues, and how do they bring in the raw materials, because the lead times was almost 3 months, and then with the China lockdown, now it has gone up to 4 or 5 months. So if I have to bring that back, how do I localize that? What are the things that I'll have to do? Probably I'll have to seek the support from the government. How will I do that? Yes, those trends are already setting in, but what are the challenges that they are facing? Just still that, okay, they are disparate in the system. There are organizational silos, there are ecosystem silos that are there. To avoid that, people come out something with control towers as strategy. How do I go ahead and then bring control tower, a snapshot view of everything? Definitely, yes, that is what people are looking out today. How do I centralize the data? How do I bring that data on the platform? Should I have a platform to get these things? What do I do with that data? Can I optimize that? Can I get some insights from that particular data? The AI, ML, what we are speaking about, how do I embed that as part of a model inside? That is where it is complex. People need to know what are the real business goals if they have to achieve, or they have to bring in the right optimization. Finally, a virtual world, what we are trying to do is that digitize all these things as part of a virtual world. We are known of digital twins, the virtual twins. The recent trend is, can I have a digital twin of a supply chain management or a supply chain execution model running digitally? Definitely realizing that started, that is where technology becomes one of the key things. And then the known hype cycle from Gartner tells that, okay, technology is one of the key things that they'll have to go. Of course, that are coupled with the competencies, the frameworks that are supposed to be put as the supply chain things. So these are the trends that what we are studying across the globe, even in India, it is the same that, okay, how do we go ahead and then manage this? Now, if I have to overcome this, what is that essence of supply chain innovation all about? What is that people are talking about when we go ahead and then meet the heads of the organization? They're telling that, okay, we need to be agile, we need to be resilient. And that are the two key trends, if I summarize these particular things that are coming out. Now for these trends, definitely one of the key thing is that going ahead and then planning and organizing the people, process, and technology together. That is where we orchestrate that, okay, how do we bring in all the aspects of my organization or the value chain in? For that, first and foremost is that how well are we understanding the supply chain problems? What are the supply chain problems that what we want to understand? So a distributed value network, the suppliers, customers, how do we bring that in? The traditional tools, of course, majority of the tools are being put in place. Pointed solutions, exceptional solutions which are giving results. Are they good enough for me to go ahead and then solve the problems? What are the data required? What are the real data points? What do I capture? What do I not? How do you collaborate, including the right stakeholders? Who are my right stakeholders? Whom to keep in, whom not to keep in, at what stage? Then what if there are competing company goals? Finally, end of the day, companies are seeing that, okay, what is my goal? Are these finally coming ahead and then meeting my goals? So that is what technology should help, or supply chain innovation should help all about. To these is what we call it as a supply chain maturity. When we start going ahead and then assessing a particular problem, we see that, okay, what is the level of maturity? How do I step in? An inside-out approach or an outside-in approach, seeing that, okay, how we see or how do we perceive the problem? A siloed activity, technical, is this the key thing that I'll have to go ahead and then address? Or if there is already a good system in place, what is the functional thing? How do I go ahead and then bring in the intelligence layer and then cross-integrate or do a horizontal integration of my value chain? Of course, then comes the vertical or the external collaboration, and then finally we achieve the orchestration. So this is exactly what Gartner is telling, that, okay, if anybody wants to go ahead and then put across a supply chain innovation, these are the maturity levels. And one of the key transformation growth is how do we go digital? How do we enable technologies, competencies, which I go back to my hype cycle or the trends that are coming in. Now with that said, we know who we are, Dassault Systems, we know what we offer, then what is that we spoke about. Let's see how do we do that. I spoke about the trends, I spoke about many things about orchestrating a supply chain disruption, but how do we build, how do we connect all these particular dots? What do I tell that, okay, it's an end-to-end supply chain model. So we call this as a model that, okay, I will have to model entire supply chain network and then see that, okay, how do I see or understand the intricacies of that. A business-based outcomes, a model should always reflect the business KPIs. What are that business KPIs that I set? Of course, what is running at the back end is all the AI, MLs, or the optimization engines. So what is the right optimization engine I'll have to put across? So I'll just run a small video which takes across a case study, what we have done, and a live example of how we go ahead and then put across a supply chain experience. We are a 3D experience company. We call ourselves as a 3D experience company. What exactly is a supply chain experience? So it is this company, I'm just calling it as an automobile company, and they are going ahead and then putting our platform for demand planning, right, doing the S&OP, supply planning, inventory optimization, and then how do I leverage, what data do I leverage, and then how do I bring across, all the understanding of the supply chain problems. So 3D Experience Platform is what is being proposed to them, and then they are seeing 3D Experience Platform as a business model, as a choice, as a partner, as a content, as a service. So that is how they see from the technology perspective. Within their organization, they are seeing this as a part of system of operations. So system of operations is something like, how do I do a day in, day out activity? Is there a supply chain experience platform where I can do a day in, day out activity encompassing people, process, and the right technology to be brought in. Now for this, we have a team over here. There is a CFO, CEO, the sales exec, demand planners, the business team, and the executive team who are supposed to go ahead and then have the supply chain part of it. So we are calling that as a perfect supply chain solution, and then different processes that are part of this perfect supply chain solution. So for this, if I have to go ahead and then leverage this is how it looks like. Okay, I have a network of people, I have a network of operations, and then how do I go ahead and then see this particular thing? So I all start with a CFO reviewing a a revenue target, and then he's seeing that, okay, something from Germany is coming out, and somebody wants to go ahead and then put out an EV market. How do I tap the EV market, or how do I go ahead and then get the leads? So he is assessing this. The CEO is assessing the sales performance, and then he has got across to a partner, the sales executive, maybe an external guy or an internal guy, to study an opportunity that is coming in. We spoke about the market intelligence, the market demand flowing in. Of course, there are a lot of feeds that come in, but how do I capitalize on whatever coming in? This is the first step, that, okay, how the data to be represented within my system. So somebody telling that, okay, I have a lead for you. How do you go about, and then see that, okay, you start planning across. Then comes my demand planning activities. Fine, I'll start planning this, visualize this, and then start planning across this particular thing. I initiate and then track actions of how do I go. Then I get into the demand planning role, that, okay, I need to analyze a few opportunities. So if I have to analyze the opportunities, I need to get the data. I need to map the data into my ecosystem, and then see that, okay, how do I start analyzing this particular thing? How do I see the opportunity reviews, and then put in my forecasting cycle. So here is where the forecasting cycle comes. And then if I have to do the forecasting, the first and foremost step is that the statistical forecasting, which is always the historical data as a base. I take that, and then I see that, okay, what is the right model? That is where AI, ML, choosing the right model, coming out with the right strategies. And then we see this particular data in an n-dimensional view. We call this as attribute-based forecasting. A particular data with reference to a location, what it is, with reference to a segment, what it is. It is not a typical hierarchical structure. That is where I go ahead and then see that, okay, if I want to see the same vehicle from a particular location, what is the performance of that? If I see it with reference to a segment, what is the performance of that? So I go ahead and then see and do a statistical forecasting, and then automatically the model selects the AI MN running in, and then I come out with the statistical forecast. Now, is that enough today? Not really. There are a lot of disruptions. So this is where we bind multiple factors or variables, that what we were all speaking about, coming in and then overlapping against the demand plan or the demand forecast, telling that, okay, what is the consumer price, the export price variations, or the unemployment rate, the workforce unavailability. If I see this and then put across to analyze the impacts on my demand plan, and then probably do an inventory-based, an RM-based forecast of the ABC or a FSN or a VED model, and then see that, okay, how exactly I'm trending, what is trending, what is not. These are the external factors. It may be inclusive or exclusive to an organization, and then finally come across with a forecast. We call this as a consensus forecast, working across with multiple teams. Of course, it may not just be the demand planner who is all doing this. He may be interacting with multiple people, maybe the sales, the marketing, to see that, okay, if there are any promotional I can put in, or are there any other things that I can go ahead and then take in. Maybe a sales guy is very confident that, okay, he'll be able to pull up a government order. Well, fine, take that as a consensus, add, multiply, and then see that, okay, where do I go? This is where we are becoming a kind of agile thing, that, okay, I am responding to my market. How is that going ahead and then seeing that, okay, this response, where do I go ahead and then see against my business goals? So this particular platform always works that, okay, there is a business goal set, and my sales, my margin, my financials, somebody telling that, okay, I had 25K vehicles, I'm very good to do. Is that right? And then is it really a goal that, okay, I go ahead? So how do we improve the statistical forecast or an accuracy? How do I enrich the forecast? So that is where we always have a real-time engine. Behind this is what is the AI, ML, and the optimization layer which is running. How is that I come ahead with this? Then I go with reference to that and then come out with the business KPIs. Okay, what is the volumes? What are the impacts on the volumes of my business? What are the impacts on the budget? What are the impacts on different aspects of how do I run the cycle of my pre-S&OP? So I go ahead and then get this data. We call this as the collaborative way of working across different teams, and then come out with a forecasting thing that, okay, I'm right across, going to the level of SKUs or to the product or the product segment. Now comes back, demand planner has done his job. He has given his recommendations. Will I be able to meet? I mean, that is what the CEO is going to again see that, okay, if I have to really see that whether I'll be able to fulfill the targets. So two things, inventory, the capacity. What is that I have? What is that I do not have? So we couple always the demand towards the supply, the replenishments, the way how do we do the supply. So here, again, the supply chain experience within the organizations is how do I link my PLM? How do I be more agile? I mean, somebody is just giving me a bomb, somebody is just giving me some inputs from the ERP. Are they known that, okay, there is a new order, new opportunity, how well integrated we are for this particular changes? I mean, it may be a good change, it may be a bad one. So we bring in that aspect of the integrations within. I mean, how do I go ahead and then build that network? I mean, our platform well integrated with our own PLM or even the external PLM, seeking that, okay, if I have to run this particular thing, how do I go ahead and then bring the right level of information in? Probably I'll have to go ahead and then build a new routings. And these are all typically manual or the way how it goes with the intuition of a person. So how do I digitize this particular thing? Yes, well, this is a conceptual model, and then I'll have to go ahead and then start planning for this well ahead because I see a particular opportunity. And then map it into my supply chain, have different strategies, run what ifs. So that is one of the recommendations, that how do we be better prepared? I mean, how do we analyze and then see that, okay, there are different things, and then seeing that supplier ratings, the quantities, and then if there are any problems with my inventory, so how do I go ahead and then add a supplier, manage a supplier with different quantities. Of course, suppliers may be providing the inputs as an external source or as an external ecosystem, and then start again running what ifs. I mean, how do I go ahead and then manage this high priority thing? I mean, should I go ahead and then do an MEIO, or should I do a safety stock calculations? Coupling capacity and inventory, I mean, these go almost hand in hand to see that, okay, how do we do that? Sorry. How do we do that particular combinations? And then once we have the right things, say, are we really fulfilling that? I mean, if we are not fulfilling, what is that additional thing? I mean, should I set a target, a management target of how do we go ahead and then do this? So different weightage, KPIs, part of the program or part of the package, and then finally have a view of how exactly my operations will run, and then the KPIs that I'm going to go. I mean, these are operational KPIs, so we see that, okay, how supply chain really enables the operations internally, and then have a visibility of that, compare the what if, do a trade-off, come out with the right or the best possible thing, with a final S&OP meeting where I go ahead and then digitize these particular things with a board meeting that happens, and then seeing that, okay, what is the right one, with a lot of intelligence coming in. So this is where the data population happened, and then I am going ahead and then analyzing the data to give a broader perspective to the management about it. So this is what I had on how do we do that. I mean, finally close the loop that, okay, I have implemented this particular activity. Am I becoming more resilient? Am I more agile? We believe so, and that is what we see as value and benefits, that what, how, and then why. I mean, the portion of why, that, okay, the benefits of balancing and then optimizing your objectives, then the planning cycles, the lost sales, the capacity utilizations. So together, I mean, that is what we bring as agility and resilience. I mean, these are our customers. I mean, we have been working globally across multiple customers as to how we operate and then what value we bring to them. And imagine that, okay, if we are able to have an accurate model, I mean, people are speaking about, or people are asking about an accurate model with people, process, and technologies coming in. So how do we go ahead and then build this consensus supply chain, adjust, readjust, become resilient, agile to the disruptions? And we are proud that, okay, we are helping organizations in this. I mean, of course, we are happy to help more and more organizations in building a sustainable operations, I mean, supply chain operations, a resilient supply chain, and then a digital twin finally going across with. So with this, I just close my presentation. I'm open for any questions.
We can take up to 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
Can we give the mic?
Hi, this is Jay here from Here Solutions, and thank you for this opportunity. What I understood from this was there was a forecast demand which was created,
Yeah.
and to meet that demand and ensure the revenue on all the calculations are correct, there's a supplier dependency.
Exactly.
And what I see is you are not trying to drive the supplier, you are making your capability aligned to your supplier dependency. So is that understanding correct, that you are not meeting your forecast and you're meeting your capabilities? Is the understanding correct?
Not really, sir. We are establishing a pull. So we are doing our forecast. We align that forecast internally to see whether we meet that forecast or we need to augment to meet that forecast with external suppliers or with the external parties or the ecosystem what I have. Forecast is something like, okay, how accurate I am or how really good I am in that particular forecast, and then if I have to really meet the target, what is that I need to do? So that is what we are trying to establish.
Okay,
there.
thank you.
Question? Any other question?
Hi, this is Sachin Singh from Here Technologies. I think a very smart looking product that you just demoed on the screen. Thank you for sharing that insight. Mr. Kumar a little while earlier spoke about the collateral benefit that the AI ML process brings in and a lot of optimization opportunity that we saw in the product. So when you propose this pitch to your prospective customer, have you ever come across a question from the customer that will this enable me to reduce my headcount? Because you spoke about two aspects in the first part of the presentation. One was PPT, whether it's a slide or people, process or technology. Another is the workforce planning. So if a company has a demand planning group which is of around 5 people as an example, does this implementation allow them to penetrate the collateral disadvantage to the people that they already have? Have you come across any situation like this?
Okay. When it comes to people and the workforce, it's a very touchy topic in India. So, well, reducing the workforce may not be the right aspect. Distributing or maximizing the productivity or going ahead and then seeing that, okay, where exactly the workforce should be, maybe the part of the agenda what your demand planners may be seeing. And now that is what we offer as part of the workforce planning. I mean, of course, I've not covered this entirely over here, that how do we go ahead and then put some rosters, put some plans, seeing that, okay, where is the need and then how do I better optimize them. Of course, reduction may happen over automations and other things which are part of the execution strategies. However, while it is at the planning, it is all about how do I go ahead and then see that, okay, the utilization of these are at the right place at the right time. So that is what we extend and then we go ahead and then put across as a solution model. Of course, we have received these, okay, can I reduce? Of course, I mean, reducing or not reducing is not part of a strategy what a supply chain tells. I mean, it's all about how the organization sees this. I mean, of course, we can help in utilizing them at the right place so that, okay, you are again more agile and then resilient to the changes that may come in or you forecast that you may see in coming years.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev sir, for this wonderful presentation. Mahesh sir, may I please invite you once again to hand over this token of appreciation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can we have a round of applause for Mr. Sanjeev? Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your knowledge.